The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to give everybody just a minute or two more to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. But we are going to go through the digital marketing deep dive today. And so this is kind of a series. This is a primer. We do a lot of other webinars and in-person events all over the country as well, which dive deeper into specific products. So stay tuned on those as well. We'll go through where you can find those other in-person events as well as other webinars that we'll be doing over the course of the next year that will go deeper into these topics that we covered today. So we'll give another minute or so to let a few more folks join, and then we'll go over just some day of ground rules about how to engage with us during this webinar and some other pieces as well. So thank you so much for joining. Okay, so we've got about a good handful of people on the call today. So just for today, everybody is muted. You'll notice that on your GoToWebinar panel. If you do have questions, though, you'll see there is a question box on your GoToWebinar panel. Please do ask questions there. We will try and get to them during this presentation. If we do not get to them during this presentation, we will be emailing you to let you know any sort of answer that we have or follow-up materials that might be helpful to you. Again, it's really important to ask that in the questions box because it will tell me who is asking the question so I can follow up with you as well. Another piece is there's a little hand raise button. We'll have a couple different questions that are yes/no questions. If your answer is yes, please do raise your hand. It looks like somebody just raised their hand now. Thank you so much, Leah. And so we'll go ahead and get started. And then finally, we will have a couple polls today, just going through some fun pop quiz type things to test your knowledge. So no pressure there, just whatever answer you think is correct. Should be interesting to see what everybody answers on those polls. So first we'll go through kind of today's marketing landscape, and then we'll get into the foundation of how to really build out a digital campaign in today's world where we have so many options for marketing. And then again, we do have some other local events where we actually come out in person and we'll have a Google speaker and into your local market. They are free events. So stay tuned, look for those. And then we also have some webinars as well that are coming up. You can find all these local live events and webinars if you are on our website at adtaxi.com and then go to our insights and events. So you'll see all of those listed here. Come back often. We have quite a few around the country every single month. My name is Kenzie Daynert. I'll go through a quick introduction and then an introduction of who AdTaxi is, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of everything. I am currently the Director of Sales Development at AdTaxi. What that really means is I do a lot of sales training and training around digital advertising for people out in the market like yourselves. And I've been with AdTaxi for about 5 years now and in digital marketing for the past 8. So it's been really neat to see how things have grown and changed and how much we can dig into data and track today. So we'll get into a bit of that too. I am not actually a dive master. This was taken in actually Australia. I've had the privilege of developing teams across about 5 different countries. So that has been really fun and exciting too. We'll go ahead and get started. And so AdTaxi, we are a digital marketing agency essentially. And so we are across 165 properties, really working in about 3 different countries right now. And we help with all sorts of digital advertising needs. And our goal is to make digital advertising simple and effective for people. We have a lot of really great partnerships. So we are partners with Google, Bing, and Facebook. What that basically means is that we are able to work with them on specialty projects. We have a direct line with some folks over there if we ever need help. And it's really exciting to do some business reviews every single quarter to see how we can improve our partnership and marketing for the end users. So let's get into the marketing landscape. So some of this might be a review, but quick question if you want to raise your hands. But how many people have heard of Zmot? ZMOT stands for the zero moment of truth. Cool. So we got one person on the line that's heard of ZMOT. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And so really, we'll go through a quick explanation of what ZMOT is. But ZMOT, the original marketing model, which Procter & Gamble built before the advent of digital advertising and really digital as a whole. And what they said was there is a stimulus. So before we make a purchase of any sort, a service or a product, there is really a stimulus that prompts us to make that purchase. So let's say I was going on vacation and I broke my digital camera. Oh no, I need to capture these. This is before smartphones, so I need to go get a digital camera. So my first moment of truth would be I would walk into my local Target and I would ask the associate there and say, tell me about all these cameras. What's the best one? What's, for my needs, for my budget, etc. That associate at the store would explain what my options. I would make my purchase, and my second moment of truth is taking it home and using it, or hopefully on a really cool vacation. Now, after that second moment of truth, I would tell my friends and family, either I love this camera or I don't. And that could then be the stimulus for them to go buy the same camera. And so that was the cycle before. Really, we had a stimulus, we went into the store, we made the purchase, and then we used the product. What do you think happens today? Everything is online, right? So what do I do before I ever leave my couch or my house to go buy a digital camera or whatever product that may be? I look online. I do my research. I'm looking up reviews. I'm checking out, what my friends think on Facebook. I'm going all over reading blogs and trying to figure out what is the best camera for my needs, and also probably price comparing to see where has the best option for me. And maybe that is in person, driving to a brick and mortar store. Maybe I'm leaving tomorrow, so I really need to go get it. Or maybe I'm going to make that purchase online on a website of my choice. And so ZMOT is really the world that we're going to talk about today, how you can influence folks who have a stimulus to buy your product and get them to make that first moment of truth with you, and so on and so forth. One interesting study that Google came out with not too long ago, and I encourage everybody to kind of use this as a little tool for yourself, that you can just spot check how your budget is laid out right now between your digital media and your traditional media, and within traditional media where you have your budget. And so if we look at the US adult, we are consuming about 47% of media digitally. 35% of that is television, and 12 is radio, while 4 is print. But if we look at the local, for this example, we're using an auto dealership. If we look at their budget, they're spreading this out with 19% print, even though the US adult only consumes 4% print, and 34% digital, even though the US adult is consuming 47%. So take a look and just see if your budget, how you have it broken out today, is aligned with how people are actually consuming media in today's world. Google has some great insights by industry. If you go to thinkwithgoogle.com, and you can check out some really cool insights, and especially catered to your specific industry. But this is one piece of an exercise that you can do to really help you set that budget moving forward. Another really exciting study that Google has come out with recently is something called micro moments. And how many people here have heard of micro moments if you just use the little hand raise button? Whoa, everybody, that's awesome. So we won't dive too deep into it, which is great. I'm so glad to hear that everybody has kind of heard of micro moments, but the general gist of it is we used to go online, we used to have our AOL dial-up, and it was an hour spent researching, and now we really live online. So throughout the day, I am checking my phone in these small micro moments, looking for information, whether that is a purchase intent, like where to buy a tote for a festival I'm going to, or whether it's something like looking up the weather. So I am constantly online in these small bite-sized moments. So later we are going to get into how can you really be present during those small moments. And just to set the stage as well, digital is continuing to grow. What I find really fascinating here is, I think personally even I thought that search took the cake. Google takes the cake on everything, right? And so I even thought that, hey, search is probably, the largest spend that people are putting their advertising dollars towards online. But really, the interesting thing is that display banners, video, and rich media actually have eclipsed search spend. So we'll talk a little bit about search and display, how they can really work together. They're the best combination, especially if you're getting started and you don't have a huge budget to play with. And so having a nice combination of the two of those really works best for your media. Here is a quick little worksheet you can do, and I encourage you to do this every quarter, every 6 months or so, as your business can change, as your products may change, as your goals may change. So list your most valuable customers. So have an idea of who is your most valuable customer. What do they look like? And for this example, we're looking at home buyers, maybe young families. So for, let's say, a furniture store, I want to make sure that I'm getting in front of people who maybe just bought a home, so they probably need a whole house full of furniture. Those are going to be most valuable to me versus somebody who has an existing home and is just buying a lamp or a bed. So who is the most valuable customer to you? Yes, everybody could be your customer, but who do you want to really get in front of? And why are they valuable? Because they tend to buy large items, they're buying a whole house full of products, and they have an average higher sale. So if you have the CRM data or the data of your past clientele, how can you look at lifetime value? Who is the most valuable to you? It might not be so simple as they have the largest single ticket item price, but it might be that they come back to you every week, every other week. They use your services or your products often. So why are they most valuable to you, and who are they? Where are you today? So how many customers are you working with today? How many do you want to get to? And so if I have an example of a delta of 5, so I want to increase my customers by about 5 or 50%, which is a pretty large number if you think about nearly doubling your amount of customers you work with every single month. And so what is your average value? And then what is your current conversion rate? So if I can get 10 form fills on my website, I know I'm going to get at least one customer. So then now I know my goal is to get 150 or so form fills on my website to get to 15 customers a month. This gives me a really clear goal to work towards with my digital advertising that I can actually track. So here's another exercise that you can work on doing. Like I said, every quarter or so, reevaluate what you're doing and then set that bar a little bit higher. Here is our first query. So what percentage of customers visit a retailer's website or mobile application before they make a purchase in store? So this goes back to that ZMOT. How many people are doing their research before making a purchase in store? We'll give everybody about 30 seconds or so to answer the poll, and then we'll get going in just a minute. All right, we'll go ahead and exit the poll, and 58%. So 58% of consumers are looking up things on their mobile device and then making that purchase in store, which is really interesting. So people are still going to a brick and mortar location 58% of the time after they're doing that research online. So it's not that people who research online only buy online. That's not necessarily the case. We all have very different purchasing behaviors. And so another interesting piece is that 54% of consumers use a search engine before making a purchase in store. So again, researching online and then moving into going in store. This can be the reverse. I'm guilty of this. I'll go into a store. I want to feel and touch a product, but then I might pull out my phone and look for better prices online, depending on what I'm looking for. And then I might end up going home later after I think about it a while and actually making that purchase on my desktop. we are in multiple devices. So how can we track through all of these devices to make sure that we're capturing our prospects? So let's look at how we can do that through building a digital campaign. You probably all have seen the funnel in some form or another. The way we like to look at it is, first we want to attract people. So we want to get them interested in you. They might be doing their research. So search is definitely, generic search is at the top. So I'm searching for local furniture stores near me, but I probably don't know which one I want to go to. I just moved to the area. I'm not familiar, so I'm just starting my research. Then perhaps I see some display ads, and I'm over reading about a recipe that I'm going to make tonight, and I see a display ad about furniture because I have shown intent to buy furniture. And next I see a video. So I'm watching news from, maybe I went to Seattle recently, or there was a really cool story, and I'm watching a newscast from a different place, and a pre-roll ad shows up. And it has an ad about a furniture store in my area, not even back in Seattle, in the Boston area. And so I'm looking at that video. And so these are all helping attract me to a certain brand they might not have been aware of before. Next, influence. Influence, we like to look for native advertising, which this is really important depending on the type of business you're in, especially if you're in a type of service-based business where you really need to do some education to the market. For example, maybe you are a healthcare group and you have a really cool new study out that you need to educate the public on. And so you want to use native advertising. Or you are a attorney group, and so you have a great article around the 5 things that you need to do if you're ever in an accident. And so it's not promoting you, but it's giving people valuable information. So you are providing great information to people in their time of need, and you're influencing them to think of you in the future. Same with social. Social can definitely be throughout the funnel. In this case, we have social as an influencer. So again, now I'm over on social media and I see some really great couches in a carousel format where I see 5 of them that I can flip through, and I'm loving it, right? It's very visual, and so on and so forth. So down we get into purchase. Purchase is really where we like to look at RTB again, or that display ad. Here, a lot of it is retargeting. So I've already shown intent, I've looked at your website, but now you're following me around and reminding me to come back and buy that couch. And then finally, loyalty. So how do you increase that lifetime value of a customer based on how many times they can come in and purchase from you? So all of these things are very important, and there's different channels that you can use throughout the entire process. So we're going to go through today, how can you identify which channels to use based on your unique goals. There's kind of 5 steps or so that I look at whenever I'm talking to a new advertiser and consulting. And it's really, first, I want to understand your audience. And so this is something that you can do as well for yourself, is understand who do you want to reach, because that's going to be key. We need to find out where they're at. And so identify who your audience is. Next, you're going to elect your goals, and you can see this is a bit cheesy, but AEIOU, easier to remember. So remember your vowels, elect your goals. So what goals do you have? If I want to get 15 new clients this month, and I used to have 10, I know I need to get 150 form fills, if you remember my maths, because I convert about 1 out of every 10 people that contact me. So I know that I need to get about 150 people to contact me in order to reach my goals. So have very clear goals that you set, and then identify what solutions are going to help you reach those goals. So we have a huge toolbox now. I remember I used to work at a law firm that we had our same yellow page spend, we had our same TV, our same print every single year. We refreshed it, and then I got to play with the creative. But now you can be across all these digital platforms, across all these traditional platforms. There are so many places that you can be. So which are going to really get you to your goals fastest? And finally, optimize. So how can you improve your campaign over the lifetime of your campaign? So improve it, make it better while you execute on that campaign. And then understand your analytics. This is really interesting to me because we have such deep knowledge now of true ROI based on our digital advertising. So I can actually see, so if I have e-commerce on my site, the ads somebody saw and engaged with, all the way through to how much they spent on my website. And I can see that clear path to purchase, which is really exciting. So we have analytics that can then help us back in the identifying solutions. Which solutions are working best for you, for your marketing, and then push it all the way through again. So first, how do you go through and just quickly identify your audience? So who's the best customer for you? I usually look at it in about 4 different areas. Demographics. Are there any demographics that I should be looking at? A couple things, if you aren't sure who the best is, if you have Google Analytics on your website, definitely check out Google Analytics. See the different demographics that are coming into your website, what these people look like, who are visiting 3 or more pages on your website, so they're a very engaged visitor. So check out Google Analytics to see your demographics on your site and who's the best demographic there. Or you can check your CRM data. So if you have a CRM and you have a lot of rich data based on your past customers, are there any trends that you're seeing with the best customers you've had? And then identify those. Shopping behaviors, so people who are online shoppers, let's say for my furniture example, I want to get in front of people who are really interested in home decorating because I know that they like to buy a lot of different furniture often and the higher end stuff. So I really want to get in front of them. So what kind of browsing or shopping behaviors might your perfect customer have? Geography. Don't just think of the 5 miles around your store or where you service. Think about where they live and where they work. A lot of people might go get an oil change when they're leaving work or on their way into work. But they might live 20, 30 miles away from where they're working. So targeting just around your geography doesn't always make sense. Sometimes you can expand that and look at different business complexes, things like that that might expand your target a little bit further. And then content. Is there any type of content that is really engaging for these folks? So one thing to note is shopping and browsing habits. We look at that as behavioral targeting. Behavioral targeting is a little different than content targeting. So behavioral targeting, if I'm a vehicle browser, I've gone to 4 or 5 different kind of vehicle websites, let's say Auto Trader, etc. in the last week. I'm definitely in the market to buy a car. But now I'm over on Sally's cooking blog and I see your ad there. I see a vehicle ad there. That is behavioral targeting. Whereas content targeting, you're actually matching the ad to the content on the page. So I'm actually serving that ad of the vehicle ad on that Auto Trader website that I was looking at. So those are the 2 different types of ways you can kind of target from a behavioral interest, those deeper targeting segments outside of just geography and demographic. And usually when you start a campaign, we want to do both. And you want to test, see which one's going to work best for you because you don't know until you test. So here's an example of how I've built out for my furniture store a target audience that I want to start with because maybe I don't know, maybe it'll change in a month, maybe it'll change in 2 weeks or so after we get some data back. But to start, I want to look at homeowners who are making $75K or more, who live in a certain city area. So I'm looking at all of Phoenix. And I'm going to test between behavioral targeting or that data targeting and content targeting. So I know that a lot of them love to shop online and decorate. So I'm going to target behaviorally there. And then I'm also going to target and say, you know what? I know that most furniture shoppers are really interested in cooking. I know that from a survey that I did of my own customer base. And so I really want to target cooking blogs and see if folks will convert there. And so this might be how I start my campaign. That doesn't mean that it'll stay this way. I'll likely change and optimize this when we get into the optimize section later in this presentation. Next, I need to figure out what are my goals? What's going to be most valuable to me? And you might have a couple goals on your site. Usually we look at a maximum of 5. So 5 pieces that you want to track. And that's really based on the technology of tracking. So pixels, usually you don't want to do any more than 5. It gets too complicated to track, but usually we look at about 5 pieces. So I might, for my furniture store, track people who are going to my homepage versus people who are looking at my products, so product detail page visits. So maybe I'm tracking, okay, how many people are looking at products, or perhaps are just an engaged visitor on my site. So they're looking at 3 or more pages on my site. They're really checking me out, my services, to see what I do. Perhaps it's you have offers on your site, which are great offers that you can drive people to, and you know that once somebody downloads an offer, they come into your store or they purchase from you online. Or, of course, location page visits. If you are a brick and mortar store and you really care about people coming to you, would it be valuable for people to go to your location page? Of course, because they're trying to figure out where you're at and likely come in and see you. And then finally, phone calls. So try and figure out what is the most valuable tracking piece to you. For my example of the furniture store, I really want to track people who are filling out a form on my site. I know that for that, people are asking questions and they have a particular product they're trying to get in front of. So that's going to be my end goal. Yours might be different. Now, I need to figure out which goals are going to align with the path to purchase. Not all goals should have the same path to purchase, the same part of the funnel. So if I want to attract folks, I might have the goal of attracting them to my brand, to a specific product I'm trying to push, or a segment of products I have, or maybe I'm trying to attract them to an event. So that's going to be one piece of my marketing puzzle. I want to have some sort of marketing around attracting people to my brand, let's say for this furniture store. Next, I want to influence them. So I can influence them through native interaction, maybe social engagement. So I want people to engage with me on social media, or I want people to search for me, but for my actual brand. So that means oftentimes when we see an increase in brand search, that means that all of the attract phase that you're doing is working really well. And that even can be offline. That can be your television, that can be your print ads. Those are all letting people know what your brand name is. And then instead of searching for couches near me, I'm now searching for a particular brand. So that can be very important to me. And then finally, purchase. I want to attract people who are filling out a form on my website or visiting my location page. And so now I have an idea of my campaign. My first goal, attract people to my brand, get my word out there. Next is influence them. And so how many people are engaging me with on social, how many people are searching for my brand, and then finally, how many people are actually filling out a form on my website. And these are how I'm going to set up my goals. So here are some examples. Get the word out about my brand, and maybe I have a delivery special. Maybe you have something specific you want to have as your goal, your awareness goal. How am I different from my competition? And then I want people to call me or fill out a form for a quote. These are very common goals that a lot of folks have. So our second poll, take a quick break. What percentage of US smartphone users research products on their phone while in the store? I'm definitely guilty of this. Sometimes I feel a little guilty that I'm cheating on the store when I'm sitting there researching on my phone, but we're all looking for the best price, right? So I'll give you another minute or two, see what you think. And by minute, I meant 30 seconds. All right. Great. Most people got this right. 67% of smartphone users are researching on their phone while in your store. What's really interesting thing about this is spanning across age groups. I know a lot of marketers that I talk to expect this to be really just millennials that are doing this. But one important piece to keep in mind is that millennials are now the greatest purchasing power, which is kind of crazy. They are about $200 billion of direct purchasing power and $500 billion of indirect purchasing power in the United States right now. So that is a lot of money that you can get in front of. So now that we know who we're trying to reach, we know what your goals are, which solutions are going to get you to those goals fastest? There are a lot of different areas. The way I kind of think about most solutions, especially digitally, obviously you have your traditional media you can consider as well, but really I look at programmatic. This is also called RealTime Bidding. We'll explain a little bit more about that. There are a lot of different products under this field, but this is how it's purchased. So programmatic and real-time bidding It can be targeted display ads, so across various different websites people visit. If you're trying to target those cooking blogs or target people who are in the market for a vehicle. Maybe mobile, you want to focus on mobile ads because you know most of your site traffic comes from mobile. Again, look at Google Analytics. Keep an eye on where your site traffic is coming from. Maybe it's video ads. You have really strong video that tells a strong story, or you're a very visual company. So again, for my furniture store, video is going to be very strong for them because I can actually showcase my products in a room. It'll be staged. It'll get people thinking of ideas and how they could put that in their house. And then retargeting. Retargeting is really a foundation of any marketing campaign. I encourage everybody, if you're not doing retargeting, to consider doing this. This is one of the foundations that everybody should be doing. And you'll notice that retargeting is up here under programmatic. There's a reason for why it's in programmatic. Yes, you can do search remarketing. Those are a bit different. You'll see that in the search section. But for general retargeting, if somebody comes to your website and you want to follow them around with an ad, really the best place to run that through is going to be through programmatic because they will be visual ads, so they'll be display ad units, versus search remarketing. Oftentimes search retargeting or search remarketing as it's called are those text ads. So if you're running it through Google AdWords tacked onto your search campaign, they're text ads typically, and so they're not going to be as effective as running it through a programmatic campaign. So one thing to note there. And there are plenty of other pieces and different product options you can do under each of these segments, but programmatic, do you have a programmatic or real-time bidding campaign set up? Are you doing search marketing, whether that be paid search, organic search, perhaps it's YouTube, and then social media. We really focus on Facebook and or Instagram. We can do Twitter as well, but we see the most results through Facebook advertising for the general client that we work with across every category pretty much. And this is just because Facebook has figured it out. They've been doing social the longest with advertising. They have really great targeting on their site and pipe in third-party data targeting. So you have deeper targeting options. And then you have some really cool ad units that you can use too. So social on Facebook advertising has become much more sophisticated in the last couple of years. So real-time bidding, let's start at the top here. What is real-time bidding? And what it is really showing an ad to the right person at the right time. And this is all based on data. So how this works. And if you think of any major website, let's say ESPN, for example. ESPN, they have all these different ads on their website, and there's no way that they could go and sell every single ad direct to businesses, because every time their website loads on a different user's computer, and there's, let's say, 5 ads on that page itself, that's 5 impressions every single time somebody visits their site and visits a new page. That can be millions of impressions they would have to sell. So instead, what has happened is there are exchanges. If you think of this kind of like the stock market. So what they do is ESPN says, I have all this extra inventory on my website. This is not remnant, so it can be leaderboards at the top, it can be cubes, all different sizes. They pass and they say, I have all this inventory on my site, and they put it on an exchange. They also pass over their targeting options. And then what you can do, or have somebody help you, is on the exchange, you can access it from a buy side. And you can say, I want to buy this many impressions, or set up your goals. If you're trying to buy and you don't care about how many eyeballs you get, but you care about the form fills, set those goals up on the exchange. So you set up your goals and you say, this is how much I want, this is who I'm trying to reach, and you design that campaign on the network. Now, a user, let's say I go and I'm in the market for furniture, I just moved to the Boston area, I'm not familiar, and I fall into that new homeowner category. And so I personally go visit a site and I visit ESPN. And in real time, if there's open inventory and I match that target audience, which I do, I'm in the geography, I have the same behavior, so I'm a new homeowner, what will happen is in real time, that ad will serve. The exchange will say, hey ESPN, there's open inventory for the target audience you're trying, or hey ESPN, do you have any open inventory? This is who they're trying to reach. and the campaign you set up says, yep, I'm trying to reach people who are new home buyers in the Boston area, great, the ad will serve in real time. So it's incredibly effective and cost effective at getting in front of people regardless of what website they're on, which I love, because before we were really restricted as to picking the different types of content that people were reading, and now you can go beyond that by saying, I want to get in front of people, and I don't care if they're reading about the sports or they're reading about Kim Kardashian online. I know that they're trying to buy furniture in Boston. So here's an example of what that looks like. This is a rugby kind of site, or an Australian website for sports. And so I'm on this sports website. I'm obviously in marketing. And so Apex Chat is targeting me with an ad. Again, top of the page, it's cube, really prominent ad space. And it's because I fit the profile that Apex Chat was trying to get in front of. Interesting thing is, Roar, again, is a Australian site. Apex Chat is a US company. I was visiting this website in the United States, and so I fit the geography that Apex was trying to get in front of, regardless of what website I was going on. And you'll notice, if you start to see the little blue triangle at the top here of ad units, if you click on that, that's ad choices. That typically means it was purchased in a programmatic environment. Whereas if you don't see that little triangle, it was purchased direct with the website. So just start to notice those little pieces, and you'll see that there are tons of ads out there on on various websites that are targeting you based on data. These ads you can purchase using real-time bidding tactics, either by static display, in-banner video, or pre-roll even. So our third query. Now that we know kind of what retargeting is, or what RTB is, we'll go into our third query, which is 72% of US adults engage on social media at least once in a month. On average, how much time do you think one person devotes to social media every single day? And I know I'm guilty of probably too much time sometimes. So I'll give you guys another couple seconds to answer this one. And then we'll actually get into social media tactics and really great ad units that you guys can employ. Awesome. So the majority of you thought 56 minutes, and in reality, it's 1 hour and 43 minutes. People are spending on social media every single day, which is a lot of time if you think about it. What can you get done in an hour and 43 minutes? That's how much time people are spending looking around social media. So it's definitely a place to be and to put your ad and your message in front of people, because they're very engaged. It's a one-to-one connection. Usually I'm on my phone. Over 60% of people are accessing social on their phone or mobile device. So all I'm seeing is that newsfeed, and I'm seeing every single image that's going through it. I don't have any of the clutter that I would see on a regular website with an ad. So it's very engaging, and usually we see a higher conversion rate on social media. A couple interesting things to look at and how Facebook has really changed over the years. And so really they started with, very light brand or very light products for businesses. So if you remember, we used to be able to say, become a fan of my page, and I had all these free people to talk to. And it was this great area where you could talk to people in your market for free, which was awesome. At that point, you were reaching about 80% of your fan base online every time you posted, because everything was really in a chronological order in the newsfeed. Now, if you fast forward, there has been a lot of additions in targeting. So again, we can pipe in third-party targeting. You used to not be able to do that. So that's really exciting. So I can target by household income, even though you never told Facebook how much money you make. I can target by where you live, things like that. They also improved upon their different newsfeed ads. And so custom audiences are a big piece of that. We'll get into a little bit. And they've purchased Instagram, and now they're doing even things around live stories. One big thing to note here is So you used to reach about 80% of your fan base every time you would post. Then in 2011, it changed to 20%. And that's when they first came out with their initial, what they called at the time, EdgeRank algorithm, where they realized that so many people had a ton of friends on Facebook and everything was chronological. So you were missing a ton of stuff. And so what they did was they said, we're going to show you posts from the people and businesses you engage with most often. So you probably see posts from the same 20 people or so all the time. Yet you don't see posts from your friend in Florida who maybe you haven't liked or commented or engaged with in a while. Not that she's not posting, it's that you never engaged. So Facebook has said she's not important to you. And that has changed how you see your newsfeed. And fast forward, now you only get in front of, if you're a business posting, you really only get in front of about 2% of your fans, because this algorithm has continued to evolve. And we can be honest here, Facebook needs to make money. They went public, and this change continued to happen. So now, really the most effective way to get in front of your audience or your target audience on Facebook is by serving them an ad that's targeted and valuable. Why that's also important, you might go into your Facebook analytics and see that 20% of your fan base are in India or in a different market that really isn't valuable to you. So the neat thing about the ads are you can have a larger reach. It doesn't matter if they're your fan or not. You can target by fans, non-fans, friends of fans, etc. But it's really the people that are most valuable to you. So it goes back to that audience that you selected. And so you're getting in front of the right people, not just throwing a message out and hoping it gets in front of the right people. So that's why it's kind of exciting today. The most engaging ad unit on Facebook right now that we've seen across all of the campaigns we run about 4,000 campaigns or so every single month across RTV, Facebook, and search. And so the great thing is we have a ton of data on this, and we see that really carousel ads work phenomenally well for most businesses, especially if you have products or you have really strong visuals that people can flip between. You can put up to, I think it's now, they just changed this, 10 to 15 images or so in your carousel. But really where we see the sweet spot still is between 3 and 5 images. When you add more than that, it just gets too cluttered and we see it actually drop in conversions. So for carousel, we really recommend doing about 3 to 5 images or so. And so this is what we see working the best. The interesting thing is you can have a different click-through URL underneath each image to drive to that specific product you would like to promote. So I encourage everybody to test these out or find a partner to help you test these and build these out effectively to your target audience. Another piece that you can do as well is custom audiences we mentioned. Custom audiences we used on this campaign as the national camera store. And so custom audiences, you can actually take your website data, or you can take, let's say, if you have a list of all your customers in the last year, or your best customers, your 100 best customers that have the highest lifetime value, we can actually take that list, match it onto Facebook, and find people that look just like them. And so now you start to have a smarter campaign that's optimizing to folks that are just like your best customers. And we see that working incredibly well. Here's a quick example of a campaign that we ran. And so we had a 636% return on ad spend, which is really, really critical, and 182% revenue increase within 6 months. So Facebook is definitely a revenue driver. It's not only top of funnel, middle funnel, it actually drives people to make purchases online. Our next query, blank out of 10 US internet users said a search engine was their top choice among a collection of digital and non-digital sources if they're looking for information. So I'm looking for information on a local business, and blank out of 10 people said they use search engines. And this is looking at both non-digital and digital options when you're looking for information. So that could include things like the yellow pages or things like Facebook, etc. So give you another couple seconds to pick. We'll see what everybody thought. Great, you guys are smart. Most of you said 8 out of 10. So 8 out of 10 people really are using search engines when they're looking for information on a local business, which is probably you. And so just a quick refresher, you probably are all familiar with where the ads live versus organic listings on a search results page. This is a mobile example. The one thing to note is that Google has changed this a bit. And so they have ads at the bottom and top of almost every page now. So you can continue to go down to page 6 and you might still see ads at the bottom of the page there. But really where you want to be is in the top 2 positions or top 4 positions on a desktop, because people aren't going past the first page on Google. It's about 92% of people who will hit the back button instead of going to page 2 of Google. So it's really important to have a high position when you're running a campaign. Also, they're brilliant. Google has placed the ads where our eyes go first. So this is just a quick heat map to show that the top 5 to 6 links or so get the most attention on a search results page. So again, why it's critical to just be at the top there. And there's ways you can do these right and ways you can set up a campaign that is not as effective. So let's get into some of those recommendations. And this is actually from our partnership with Google and looking at the best ways we can improve our campaigns as well. So fun little benefit that we're sharing with you from our partnership. But they look at your intent. So you need to be relevant to intent. So if I'm looking for living room furniture and I get this ad or these 3 ads at the top of the page, why am I getting an ad for patio furniture or patio furniture designs? That is not what I searched. So if I'm searching for living room furniture, give me living room furniture, and don't put just your brand. A lot of times we see this happen all the time where people will have their brand as the ad, but that's not what I searched. I searched for a very specific keyword that I would like. And so make sure that you give me what I'm looking for. So that's the first step. And when you're doing that, that means that you have to set up quite a few different creative units to make this campaign work well. So if you've got living room furniture, patio furniture, kitchen, etc., you need a different ad for each of those segments. Relevant by device. So if I'm on my mobile phone and I'm searching for furniture near me, likely I'm trying to go to your store, or maybe I'm trying to call and see if you're still open. So make sure that you're including ad extensions like click to call, click to map, or if I'm on my desktop, using shopping ads is very, very strong here because I can actually do my research and look at products and I'm comparing them. So think about your particular business, and if I'm searching on mobile, how should you change that ad versus if I'm searching on desktop? And time of day. This is a kind of funny but cheesy example. Let's say that I am looking for food near me and it's noon. Serve me a lunch ad. Whereas let's say it's 1 a.m., I'm leaving a concert and I'm hungry, so I search food near me. Tell me about fourth meal. Give me an ad there. So if it's relevant to your business, are there different times of day that you should serve a different ad? Or perhaps if you're a small and pop business, you don't have a call center helping you answer phone calls outside of your normal business hours. Maybe you day part, and so you only have your campaign on during the hours that you're open and you can actually answer the phone. And you turn off your campaign at night when folks might get frustrated because they are calling you and you're not answering. Relevant to location. Again, this goes back to give me click to map, make sure that you're near me. So if I'm looking for living room furniture in, let's say, Sydney, Australia, I just moved there and I'm trying to find something near me, make sure that you're giving me living room furniture near Sydney. Whereas if I'm looking for a plumber, I probably am not going to go visit you if you're a plumber. I probably need you to come to me and visit my house. So click to call is going to be much more relevant there versus a click to map. So how can you figure out which of these solutions are going to get you to your goal? Go back through and look at generic search. Are you doing generic search? So when people are starting their research, they can find your types of products and services, even if they haven't heard of your brand. So that's how you're going to attract people. Moving down, maybe you're influencing them through social media. So you know you need to have an arm of your campaign with social media, and you have a great carousel ad that's targeted to people that look just like your best customers. And maybe you have retargeting as well. You know that people have come to your site, they're really looking at your products and services, they just haven't made the leap yet. So stay in front of them and give them a message about why they should come back to you. Don't just tell them your brand. They already know your brand if they've been to your site. So if you're trying to retarget them, make sure you're giving them a message of why to come back. So that could be something like a testimonial type of message, some sort of offer or deal if they come back. And then finally, purchase. Here's where we like to look at search, especially branded search. So if I'm looking for you in your market area, make sure that you're appearing at the top. Also, dynamic display can be very important. Dynamic display is basically where you would have, I've gone to a website, I've looked at 5 different shoes. Now I go on to different websites because I didn't select the type of shoe I want for my wedding yet. So I'm going across and researching about bands or something else. Now I see an ad that's the exact shoe I looked at. And so using dynamic display, you can put these ads on social as well based on the exact product somebody was looking at on your website is incredibly effective to get them to go back and purchase. What this looks like kind of put together. So if I need to get the word out about my brand, I want to do some RTV display. So I'm targeting people who have just moved to the Boston area. And I'm going to target them with some video ads as well, because I want them to see my beautiful showroom as a furniture store. Next, I want to influence people, and I want people to understand how I'm different from my competition. So I'm going to run some native articles where I'm really showing information that's valuable to people in the area. So maybe I'm running some native articles about how to best organize small spaces, and I'm sponsoring those native articles. And then Facebook. Maybe I share some information around my particular products, a deal I have coming up, Memorial Day sale, and then retargeting the exact products people were looking at, and search. So I definitely want to have an arm of search for people to end up calling me, because you can't track really calls off of any other ad except for search marketing. And the other ads are really not designed to drive phone traffic. So if you want phone traffic, search is going to be where you're at. So how can you optimize? A quick way to think of optimization is take a look at your different variations. So make sure you have different variations. Your variation could be budgetary, it could be different targeting that you're going against. So I'm targeting cooking blogs versus I'm targeting people who are new homeowners in the area. My creative units. So maybe I have 3 different creatives that I'm running, 3 different videos that I want to test. And then finally, keywords if you're on a search campaign. So how are people searching for your products and services? Figure out which one of those has the highest conversion point for you, and then move a little bit of money there. When we're looking at optimization, one key thing is we don't turn off a campaign. So if in a week or 2, I see that variation A has the lowest conversion ratio, instead of taking all my money from variation A and putting it in variation C, where I have a highest conversion ratio, variation A might just take a little longer to optimize. So I'm going to just put a little bit more money in variation C, but leave some budget in variation A to see what happens in another couple weeks. Oftentimes, we actually find that in a month or 2, we'll see that the variation that started out the slowest is actually performing at the highest ability. So just one thing to note is don't totally kill something if you think it's not working. It could just take more time. Couple things to think about when you're looking at your search optimizations. So you probably have seen this a lot. I do all the time. I might see a search ad and it's very simple, like the one at the top here. So it's living room stores, great. I'm looking for living room, but they're not giving me anything else. I get new furniture 50% off. That's great. But I don't have these ad extensions, which are at the bottom here, which let me go directly to beds and sofas, let me go directly to other areas where they're at, their showrooms. So make sure you include ad extensions, click to map. All of these different extensions are actually free to include on Google. There's no extra charge for them. And it's a big point to make sure that your campaign is working the best. So here's another quick example of how optimizing appropriately can really help get to your goals. So this is really interesting because not only did their revenue increase over the course of 4 months, but also their return on ad spend. So their quantity did not suffer because of their cost. So they saw an 1,100% revenue gain. And this is really going into what we look at as an omni-channel approach, where you're looking across that full funnel. So instead of having everything compete for, I just want to get as many form fills as I can, remembering that first you have to attract people. They first have to be familiar with you before you can influence them, before they'll actually purchase. So how can you put together a campaign that is going to use several different pieces of that funnel to make sure that you're driving the most return for yourself and for your advertiser? So our last query of the day: what percentage of businesses don't track their ROI? And I know I was pretty surprised by this one. You might be as well. Let's give you another couple seconds. All right, see what you guys thought. Oh, my little box didn't show up, but 53. So you guys are right on the money. I was personally surprised by this. 53% of businesses are not tracking their ROI right now, which means that they have a lot of areas that they could probably improve upon. They could find that certain pieces of their marketing is working well, certain pieces aren't, and improve. So it's really critical to track ROI, because that will give you your roadmap to how to improve your marketing campaigns. And with digital, you can track that so much cleaner than we used to have to with TV, when we were just based on points, how many points or how many phone calls. Now you can actually see further, deeper tracking. So how can we understand our analytics? I have my campaign. I know I'm going to use our TV display and video to attract people to my business. So for that, I'm gonna track how many people are coming to my site and how many people see my ad. So web traffic. One thing to note, which is great, web traffic does not only mean just people who are clicking on your ad and showing up to your site, but that can also mean view through. View through is a way to track display ads and social ads, where somebody sees the ad, doesn't click, but then comes to your site. Maybe I open a new tab or something of that nature. So there's ways that you can use pixels and tracking codes, which we'll get deeper into in our further sessions, either in person or other webinars that will teach you kind of how that works. But there are other ways that you can track website traffic. So first, I'm going to track how many people are seeing my ad and how many people are coming to my site. Next, I want to see how many people are engaging with my site. So are they visiting 3 or more pages, or are they just coming to the homepage and bouncing? So that's really important and critical metric to track as well. How many people are getting to my contact page, or perhaps that you have e-commerce on your site, so you want to see how many people are looking at products or getting to the checkout page, versus how many people are actually purchasing, so completing a purchase on their site. And maybe for loyalty, I want to have an ancillary piece of my campaign try and drive people to email and sign up for my loyalty program. I got about 2 more slides and then we'll be done here. I know we're just about at time. Here's an example of analytics that we like to look at. So again, tracking through how many impressions to how many people came to the site versus how many people converted. Once you start tracking this on a monthly basis, you can really improve your campaign over month, because now you have a complete conversion ratio to see what is driving the most results for your business. And in further presentations, we'll get deeper into how you can look at these analytics and optimize to them. So remember, figure out your audience, figure out the goals that you have, your direct goals, which solutions are going to reach those goals, how can you optimize your campaign, and then which analytics are going to be most important to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and you can find deeper dives into digital. This again was a primer, so find deeper dives into digital either in person at our events or on other webinars. We'll go into specific products and other industries, so stay tuned for those. You can look for them at adtaxi.com/insights. One last piece of homework for you guys, and this is a free tool that you can use, which is Google My Business. If you haven't set this up, I really recommend going to Google My Business and setting up your dashboard. This is a free dashboard Google provides, and you can see and pipe in all of your information from various Google platforms you use, whether it's tracking your reviews, maybe pipe in your Google Analytics, your YouTube channel, etc. You can pipe it all into one place. Thank you so much and have a great day. We'll get back to your questions if we didn't on this webinar via email.